Hello, welcome to the Rich and Simple Living. My name's Maria, and if you're new here, I vlog about home life things, home schooling, urban homesteading, cooking, and a bit of all sorts in between. Today we're going to be doing some cooking. Normally I do a lot of air frying cooking, but that's usually on a Friday. But today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I've had for Christmas a slow cooker. I've never owned one before. You have to excuse the flash in it. It's terrible for the light and that in here. And because I've got a new camera, it picks it up and it flashes. So please bear with me. But yes, I've had a slow cooker for Christmas. Now I've used it once. I have made a casserole stew in it the once. So I thought we'll have a go again at it together. And I'll show you what I've got. It's a Morphy Richards one. I'll bring you down, you can see. So it's quite nice. It's a Morphy Richards one. I like these because they're nice and simple, high, low, medium. Perfect for me. It's, I think it's 1.5 litre, I think. Or 3.5 or something like that. I'm not sure now. 3.5. Can't remember. I never remember anything. It's my age. Anyway, we're going to have a go at it. We're going to put it on and we're going to have a go at doing a casserole stew. I'm quite sure what the difference is between them, because a stew I just cook like I do a casserole and call it a stew, and casserole do the same and call it, you know, casserole, stews. It's all the same to me. But anyway, we're going to have a go at this. So first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in my ingredients. Well, if you've seen some of my air frying ones, a few back, well, quite a few back now, I did Cornish pasties and I had vegetables left over from the Cornish pasties. So what we did, we put them all into bags. So I had a couple of bags. So I've got the meat and Swede, potato and carrot in there. So we did them in bags and just chucked them in the freezer. I didn't blanch them or nothing, just chucked them in the freezer, and they've come out fine because I've already used one. So I thought, well, we'll put this into the crock pot bit, whatever you call it, the pot bit. So I'm just going to tip it in. I have let it defrost a bit. Still cold, but that's not a problem. So we'll tip all that in there. It's a bit of a mix round. So we've got the meat in there and the veg. And like I say, we popped it in the freezer and there was no problem with it whatsoever. Why am I picking up gravy? Now I've got some mixed veg just to add a bit of colour to it, because these, like I say, were the recipe, well, the ingredients for Cornish pasties. So I'm going to pop a bit of this into it to mix with my hands, even though it's cold. I don't want too much colour, just enough. Should do it. And just mix it in. What we're saying we want to do this year for the growing year is grow vegetables, obviously, that we're going to eat and use. But I thought it might be nice if we grow them and freeze them in bags, pack them in the bags and freeze them, how we're going to use them. So like here we've got the potato, onion and the Swede. If we grow them and then pop them into the bags, I can buy some beef and chop it in with them and bag them up separately. Then I can label them. They can be stews / casseroles or Cornish pasties. So all you do then is grab a bag and just use it for what you want. But the beauty is, the majority of it will have been grown in the garden, which saves money, and that's the idea, what we're after. So I've got to write on my gardening list for this year. Normally I've done them by now, but I've not done them yet. So I am going to do that, see what seeds I need and what sort of dishes we can cook throughout the year that we'll eat and we can grow, just to save money. So yeah, so I'll pop them in. What I'm going to do next then is I'm going to do 2 pints of like a gravy, thin gravy, just for it to cook in. So I've got this fancy kettle. I don't know if you can see it there. I've got my jug under it. It's a bit like the coffee machine. And put it under, press that, and it will boil and put so much in. Actually, better turn it to get a full cut. So I didn't put it in. I'll probably have to do it a couple of times though. So that's doing. Wipe my hand because it's got raw meat on it and veg. So yeah, I'm going to do 2 pints. I was thinking, I didn't make note of what I'd done last week, how much fluid I put in, because I'd had to go to it last week and it came out beautiful. And I didn't make notes of it, and I thought, oh no, and I've been messing around trying to think, what did I put in? Nobody can remember what I did. I don't think anybody saw what I did, and I never half time register what I do. So then I thought, I'm sure there's something with it too, so we're going to put 2 pints in it. But it's going to take a while to filter 2 pints because this kettle's a bit 1 cup at a time. That's the only downside to it, is 1 cup at a time. But it is very useful. We got it because Dean gets arthritis in his hands and he's known to drop things, and the kettle slipped out of his hands once or twice. So my daughter bought it for Christmas because it's safer. He hasn't got to pick it up or anything with hot water in. So yeah. Now I don't know how the sound's going to come out because, like I said, I'm using my new phone and I'm having lighting issues with it. I've got to work that out. I've got a ring of light that I think I'm going to have to bring in and pop on every time. With my old phone I didn't need to, because when I'm in the kitchen by the window I get loads of light. I've got window right the way along and I get loads of light, but this one seems to flash, so I think I've got to adapt it a bit. But if I'm having the same issue with sound, because I've got the kettle on, the appliance will often come across like there's a tinny robotic sound in the background. So I've not tried it with the kettle on yet, how it sounds, but I've got a feeling it might do. So if that's what you hear, that's why the new phone is picking it up, and it sort of converts it like a tinny sound. But we'll work with it for a minute until we work it all out. We've got to sort the lighting out for sure, because like I say, it shouldn't be flashing, and it's flashing something terrible. I can see it flashing. I don't know when you watch it whether it'll come out as flashing, but to me at the moment it's on off flashing, and I know that's a lighting issue. So I'm going to have to try the ring of light and see if that helps. Hopefully this time now it'll be enough. Can't see where my 2 pint is now because of the steam. Oh, we're just slightly under. I'll just put another one. This is the only downside of it. You've got to keep putting it in and putting it on, and I think that probably burns more electric because you've got the kettle on for longer than when you do one big one and pour it all in, because it's having to reheat up again. But it's either that or Dean ending up scalding himself on hot water. It is useful if you're just making the odd drink or 2, you just put it under. Should be there this time. Should about do it. So what I'm going to do then is make a thin gravy just so I can pour over it so it can cook in it. That noise, it makes a noise at the end. Right, if I just get it to the 2 mark, there we go, that should do it. Put that over there. So I'm going to bring you down. There we are, you can see that. And I'm just going to mix a bit of gravy in it. I will thicken it up later, but this is just sort of thin like a stock, just for it to cook in. And then when it's done, I just thicken it up as I want it with the amount I want. We just mix all this in so it's not lumpy. And then I'll make dumplings then. I'll pop it on and I'll leave it on about 4-ish hours. I'll leave it on for the afternoon because I'm going to go out and do other things. So I shall leave it on, and then later, about half an hour before I'm ready for it, I will make some dumplings and put dumplings in. But we'll come back and do that later. I think that's okay. So I'm going to pour, shall I bring you up just a fraction? You can see, that's it. So I'm going to pour that in there. I mean, the one thing, if I make too much of this liquid, at least I can stop if I think I've got too much in it. Pour it all over. No, that's fine. Loads in there. In fact, I'm sure there's less in there than last week. I'm sure it was right to the top last week. Just give it a mix round. Doesn't seem a lot in there. There we go. So we'll pop the lid on it. Like I say, we'll thicken it up a bit later when we're ready to. I'm going to put it on high. And that's it. It's on. I'm going to leave that to cook now. And we'll come back to it later and do some dumplings and we'll see what it's doing. It's later in the day now. As you can tell, I've got artificial light on. It's getting dark out. The stew is cooking away nicely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to thicken it up now with a bit of gravy and I'm going to put dumplings in it. Then I'm going to just turn it onto a slow simmer while I go off and do something I've got to do. And then it should be ready by the time I come back. So I'm going to bring you down. As you can see, it's coming on nicely. Take the lid off for a moment. Oh, that's steam. Stir. Oh, it smells beautiful. I love the smell of onions cooking. Not frying, but just cooking like this. It smells nice. I'm going to put lots of lashings of gravy in because I love gravy. And I know it isn't always that good for you, but I don't eat it that often. So we'll give it a stir around, thicken it up a little bit. Let's put a little bit more in. I think the last week I did one, I put vegetable gravy in it. This time it's a beef gravy, which is okay because it's beef in it. So I think that might be thick enough to do. Loads and loads of steam. There, so I'm going to leave it at that now. What I am going to do is put the dumplings in. I've already made the dumplings up. I just did 4 ounces of suet to 8 ounces of self-raising flour and a bit of water to mix it into a ball. The bit of flour down there is just to dip my hands in. In fact, if I come this side and come down a bit. Yeah, it's just to dip my hands in, should some of this be a bit sticky, because it does get a bit sticky. So we can just dip it in. So we're just going to make some little balls of dumpling. Oh, that one's sunk. Doesn't normally sink. Seems to be sinking. I think probably my mixture's not thick enough. I might put a bit more in actually. Normally it sits on top. I'll put all of that in. I want much left in there. Normally it sits on top, but didn't seem to want to. I can feel the dumplings in there. They'll cook under there anyway, whatever. There we go. If the others sink, not to worry. Not too bad. Just put a few in. Last week they sort of half sunken, half floated. They were half and half, probably a little bit higher up than they are now. I must have done a thicker liquid last week when I did one. And I seem to have made more dumplings as well. I don't seem to have as many this week. Don't know why. I did the same mix, but there we go. We'll just leave them in there. We'll pop the lid back on. And I'm going to turn it down now to the low, so it can just keep warm and simmer away. So we're going to leave it like that. I'm a bit dismayed my dumplings have sunk, some of them, because I don't normally get that, but yeah, it's the first time for everything. We'll see what they come out like when it's cooked. And that should be all right now for me to leave for a good half an hour while I nip and do what I've got to do, and then we'll have a look and a dish it up, what it's like. So we'll be back in a bit. Okay, I'm back. The dumplings have risen beautifully. I'll see if I can bring you down to have a look. Look at them. They've risen lovely. And there's one there that seems to be covered in stew. I think that's one that's sunk in the middle of them and it's risen back up. So they've gone nice. So Dean's going to put some in the plate now and we'll see what it's like. British sitcom on film. Goodness me, yes. Well, we're going to do 5 minutes of film versions of British sitcoms. Oh, look at that. Should we just turn that off? There we go, we don't need it on. Oh, lovely. Look at that. That looks really nice. Now, I'm going to have a taste of that. It looks lovely, but very hot. And I'm going to see if I can taste it. Could have mashed potato with this. Because I've got dumplings, I'm not having the mash. But tomorrow, there will probably be enough left in there that we'll have another meal from it tomorrow. And then I'll have mash with it because we'll probably eat the dumplings because we love dumplings. So we'll probably put mash to it tomorrow. Now, what I do in my freezer, I've got tubs of mash. When we do Sunday dinner, Sunday roast, and with mashed potato, we always get some left over. So I'll cool it down, pop it into little plastic tubs, you know, like your takeaway tubs, put them in there and then pop them in the freezer. So then midweek, when we do something like this, we've got mashed potatoes to go with it. So that's what I'll do tomorrow with the rest of it. And I'll probably bake a nice loaf of crusty bread because Dina likes some crusty bread with it, so I'll probably do that tomorrow, but I won't film it because I have done bread in the bread maker before. So if you want to see how that's done, you can scroll back quite a few vlogs and you'll see how I did that. So that's that for now, and I shall see you again now on Friday. We're going to be doing some air frying on Friday. I'm not sure what we're doing yet, but we'll be making something in the air fryer. So thank you for watching me, and I hope you'll join me on Friday. Until then, take care. Bye.